Hi, good morning. This is, at least it's good morning here. This is clip number 3 in the Seagull Surf at, I almost forgot the title, at Sunset Bay, Oregon. Demonstration, clip number 3. Here we go. We're going to start by doing the sand down here. Notice in this surf area, there's distinct areas usually when you paint it. There's the waves that tend to be darker as they get closer to you. They tend to outline the top of crashing foam, which is right here. Then there's a dark line at the bottom and some shadows in the foam. Then there's a flat line of foam as after the wave crashes it runs up the beach, in which you see little holes or larger holes or various holes where the color of the water shows through. By the way, these should always be elliptical because you're looking at them from back away from them in perspective from the side. Not pie-shaped, not round, but elliptical. Then it's always good to have a little line of white here if you can manage it. Then there's wet sand, where the sand is still wet and running down or running whatever direction it goes, which will show reflections, and that hopefully we'll have time to do today. And then there's the dry sand right here. So over here to my palette, quickly, can you see the palette?
Yep.
Pretty well? Okay. So to get the sand, I use my flat brush because it'll work quickly. Color, I'm going to put a little red, a little yellow, and a touch of blue. That's phthalo blue, permanent alizarin crimson, and Joe's yellow, which is basically any fairly decent yellow. So to get a sand color, you have to work at it a little bit, and that's looking pretty good right there. Put a little more in there so I have enough to color the area. You always want to have enough mix so you can color your area really good. Let's see what this looks like to me. Yes, I think that'll work it. Okay, so let's take this. Now I'm going to paint both areas here. Can you see that? Is it nice and clear? Right here? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to paint both areas, both the wet sand and the dry sand, and I'm going to come over after it's dry with a darker coat of paint, a darker wash, and then pull out reflections. So at this point, I'm just not going to make any distinction between the two areas. And I can see right away I didn't get quite enough color. I want my sand on the bottom to be nice and light. There she goes. I want to come and outline this area where there's going to be white foam rushing up the beach, or rushing at the beach. Like this. I might just sneak a little darker color up in here to anticipate what we're going to be doing in a little while. Now at this point, a good way to make wet surfaces look wet is to pull vertical, straight up and down, reflections out. What I did was I rinsed my brush out so it's nice and clean. I don't want to put more color on at this point. Not here, because that's dry. Here I'm pulling them out so that I make sure I get enough light areas to do these reflections. So in everything in watercolor you want to vary it. Vary the size, the angle, the shape, the distance between things. So I can come over here and put a little one in there. I can come over here and put a little one. Now my brush is getting a little filled with color because it's acting like a mop. It's pulling the color off while it's still wet. Then I might do a different sized one over here. Notice different distances between these, and you don't want too many of them. Now this, I'm going to be going over this with color and then pulling out the color again when I make it darker. I do this first. I'm going to move upwards here while this is drying, hopefully quickly, so I can finish up this part and its reflections. Okay, now when I did this up here, the cliffs, can you move to the cliffs? Can you see the cliffs?
Yep.
Okay, good. And when it dried, I noticed that it didn't dry as light as I wanted it to. So what I did off camera before I started this demo was I lightened some of these areas. Now this is a very simple technique, and you didn't need to see all of that, so I'm just going to do it once or twice. If you're using good watercolor paper, and I emphasize good watercolor paper, you can lighten an area, sometimes almost back to the white of the paper, by using a soft cosmetic sponge. And I wet it, squeeze it out as hard as I can to get almost all the water out. Now, are you over here?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now watch what happens here. It's important to keep cleaning your sponge, because if you go back to remove more color, you can put dirty color back in there, which you don't want to do. And you notice what happened on this. I lightened it. You can also lighten it a little bit, see? Can you see it again?
Yeah.
I'm going to put some dirty color, just like I said you shouldn't do. Okay, you can lighten it just a little bit like that right here. So if I come in here, and remember, I want to vary the angles, and I did somewhat, and the spacing between these things. And let's say I want to put a little light area here. If I were worrying about something like I want ragged edges rather than straight edges, and I could tear these 3x5 cards and get a different effect. And so you get a little bit light area there. I want enough light areas so that I can get some value contrast in here when I put the darks, going from light to dark in various spots to show the contours of it. So this is a very useful technique only if you use high quality paper. This is Arches 140-pound rough, I believe, or any Arches, Fabriano, any of your really good papers will handle this technique, and you'll be able to paint over it, and you won't get ugly marks on it. You don't want ugly marks. So that's that. Alright, sand color, darker color. Once again, coming in here. I'm afraid I'm going to go over, and we're going to get this clip divided again by YouTube. If I go over 10 minutes, they say I have 15, but they're going to divide it into 2 clips, which I don't particularly want them to do. Notice I'm going right over the light areas because I'm going to pull them out, just like I did before. Well, we're just about there. Let's see, I think I had one right here. One in here. One here. 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 Maybe one right here just for good measure. And that's it. We'll see you. Up. Thank you. That's it, and we'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll pick up something else on this painting. Bye-bye for now.